Alright, and we are back in our beautiful flight deck of our small, beautiful A320 on the way from Brussels to Frankfurt. Thanks for tuning in to the second installment of this small flight series here that I've got going on. Again, this being the Aerosoft A320, a beautiful product that I really enjoy. I'm not getting paid to say that, by the way. We are now, if you haven't seen the first video, do that, because we are now just about 10 miles away from our top of descent down into Frankfurt. You can see that here on the navigation display. There's a little arrow here, and that indicates the top of our descent as the MCDU, that is the flight management computer, has calculated it for us. Now, I personally, when it comes to descending, I like to first of all, I like to descend on a vertical speed hold, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. But also, I like to do initiated about 5 miles before the top of descent that the MCDU calculates, just to give us a little bit more leeway and give us a bit more time. I don't think that really hurts when we do that this way. So we are about 5 miles away now. I will actually zoom that in a bit, and you can see this is the 5 mile radial, that's what it's called. So we can actually initiate our descent now. The way to do that is to just dial in the vertical speed that you want, and we'll start our descent with 2,000 feet per minute. And then we will select the altitude. I'm going to select 4,000 feet, and then I'm going to right click. That is, I'm going to push the, I'm going to pull rather, of course. I'm going to pull the knob out to me, like that. Now I do that by right clicking. And that selects the vertical speed hold. I'm also going to, first of all, put up back the seatbelt icons for our passengers. And I'm going to dial in the new speed in preparation already for our descent. I've just put in 250, and I've also pulled on this knob that manually selects 250 knots here. And as you can see, we're slowing down, but we're not slowing down very fast, and that's perfectly fine for now. If we do need to slow down more and we need to push out the speed brakes here, we can do that, but not right now, because as you can clearly see here, we are losing speed bit by bit, and that's perfectly fine for now. And right now, the way I do it is, again, I've selected a vertical speed hold and a vertical speed hold and a normal, speed, selected speed setting here. So selected speed and selected vertical speed. What that means is the aircraft is going to try to do two things at once, and that is to keep us at the vertical speed and also to reach that speed of 250 knots. Now, that can be a problem, because as you can see, we're not really losing speed too quickly anymore below the 300s here. And that is because we're descending so hard that the aircraft is in idle. You can see the engine here is in idle. Both engine 1 and 2 are obviously both in idle. They're not working anymore. They're not actively, doing anything for us. They're as low as they can go, but we're still too fast. That's just from gliding, basically. That's what you do when you select, when you use selected mode, which is to pull on the knobs, and that's called just manually putting in values. If you don't want to suffer from that problem, you can use the managed mode, and that is to left-click the things, and they'll become managed, and the computer will do everything for you. But in this case here, we're actually still losing speed just a little bit. I'm still going to put out the speed brakes, just half or something. But yeah, that's sort of a difference. I want to put out like a real video on this, because it's a more complicated thing, like selecting versus managing values. And when they're dashes, that's when they're managed. And when there's actual digits here, they're selected. And that corresponds to pushing or pulling the knob. And there's a couple of intricacies there that you need to understand if you want to properly fly the A320. And I myself am sometimes, by the way, still struggling with this. I'm not gonna hide that. That's probably obvious, anyways. You can see, by the way, we're losing speed now that I've put the spoilers out to half. That's very nice. We just got to remember to put the speed brakes back in, otherwise we'll get a warning, and you might hear that now or later, in case I ever put the speed brakes out and forget to put them in once we hit that desired speed. Anyways, so yeah, I want to make a proper video on autopilot FCU. Again, this is the FCU panel, the autopilot panel. I want to make a proper video on that, how the system works in detail at some point. But for now, you just need to know I've selected 250 knots speed and minus 2,000 feet per minute vertical speed. It's about time to get that back. We might also prepare for the landing already. Selecting the auto brake, arming the spoilers, which I've already done. It's not quite time to put out flaps yet, but we need to do that at some point as well, of course. Currently at flight level 175, and it's a bit too high to put on anything else right now, such as lights, landing lights, or anything else. I do need to talk about one change. So I've changed the plan, okay? I've tried this a bunch of times, and there is a conflict between the database of Aerosoft and the MCDU that has its own database of airports and runways and everything, and that is in conflict for some reason. Let me put out the speed brakes again just a bit. That is in conflict with FSX own database. So the fact is, for ILS 07 left and also ILS 07 center, there is a conflict. So either the ILS frequencies are wrong they're different in between the two databases, or in the case of ILS 07 center, in case of that runway, that doesn't even exist for FSX with the default Frankfurt scenery. If I was to buy proper Frankfurt airport scenery, that would fix the issue. But since I don't have that right now, I needed to change the runway that we are approaching to, and as you can see here on the navigation display, now we're making an approach for ILS 07 right. And I've checked, and the runway is the same, and the ILS frequency is also the same. We can also hit the localizer slope button, at least I think that's what it stands for, and if I click that, you can see the localizer and the slope comes in, and that's just used for the ILS landing in a second. I might also stand for landing system or something, I don't know. If you know, let me know. Anyways, we're already quite a ways into our approach here. I'm hoping we get down in time. We'll see. That's one way to find that out. Although I will go ahead and let us drop by 2,500 feet per minute, and I will also put the speed brakes up to full, because otherwise, you know, I'm dictating the plane to go down by 2,500 feet per minute, which is quite a bit. Sort of a steep descent, and we would pick up a lot of speed. As you can see, even with full speed brakes out, we're not really losing speed anymore. So that's not really what you want to have happen here, to be honest. I just need this to get rid of all the altitude here right now. Otherwise, we're just not going to make our landing. We're not going to make the approach otherwise. Little right turn here, as you can see on the navigation display. And then there will be one more right turn coming up. And now we're getting a little warning here sometimes, but it vanishes. Okay, it says speed brakes still out, which is funny because we are at 20 knots over the desired speed. I'm not sure why we get that. I'm just going to ignore that. Sometimes the Aerosoft Airbus kind of glitches out for some reason and just gives you these warnings, but they disappear really quickly, as you can see. I don't know what to do with that. It's really obnoxious. But yeah. Alright, now it is time to bring in the landing lights. We've already got the seatbelt icons on, that's good. We're still getting this annoying warning here, so I'm going to try and just bring the speed brakes up. As you can see, we've passed the 10,000 feet altitude, and we are about 250 knots, so that's good. We're still getting this annoying warning here, this caution. I don't know why. It's really stupid. Also, I shouldn't call it warning. It's not a warning, it's a caution. as it says here. This would be the warning, and this is the caution. And this is really bad, and this is not so bad. But it's still annoying to get this pop-up here all the time, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, tell me. We can actually, this is telling us where we will hit the bottom of descent, and you can see that's just past Ropsa. So that's okay. That's a pretty good goal here. So we want to be at 4,000 feet just when we finish that final turn. And now the speed brake still out warning is actually correct because we are at the speed that we want to be at, and now you can see how it's persistently there. I'm going to cancel that because that's alright, because if I take the speed brakes out right now, we will just start picking up speed again, and that's something we absolutely don't want to. So we can actually slow down to be a lot slower though, and that would also get rid of this warning, of course. Never mind, it still does it for some reason. So we will already slow down to 180 knots here. And that just, with the speed brakes out, slows us just down by quite a bit here. And that's exactly what we want. Now, I have to say that if the ILS doesn't work, so the lights, the indicators for the localizer and the glide slope, in case they don't come in, I'm just gonna say screw it and land manually, because this has happened for like 5 times now, and off camera it works, on camera it doesn't, and I can only imagine there's further conflicts with the databases or something's wrong, and I'm still investigating, so we'll see. We will see what happens. So it's about time to drop the landing gear as well. It's a bit too fast right now. I want to be a bit under the, current speed to do that. Got speed brakes out. Oh, we don't have them on full. Oops. There we go. Now we're slowing down. Now we can do our things. So we can drop the landing gear and we can put out flaps 1. There we go. Good. Now we can bring back the spoilers and go to flaps 2. Cool. Can already see the runway here, and we can also see that unfortunately we have not been able to establish the localizer. I don't know if I was going too fast. I'm honestly not sure. Let me know if you know, but at this point I am willing to absolutely go ahead and disable that autopilot and just take manual control. So it's my plane now. I know. Thank you. And just land the plane manually, because it's just getting on my nerves here. I have better things to do than try and make this video come to a closer for like a week now or something. It's really annoying, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong, but it's just the way it is. So we're taking manual control. If you're having problems with the automated systems of the aircraft, just still fly the plane. It's still just a plane ultimately that you can fly. So I'm gonna take that lesson to heart right now and just manually land. It's a nice exercise after all. I'm gonna slow down to 140 knots, which will just be our final speed, and try and line up and set flaps 3.
$2,500.
I'm just trying to fly a, visual approach right now, so there's no help here. I'm gonna disable the flight director as well because it's not helping me. So obviously it's wrong. And I'm just gonna try and use these poppy lights here, the red and white lights. We're gonna go to full flaps, obviously, we need to, otherwise we're gonna stall the aircraft. Or at least get close to stalling it, I should say. And looks like we're pretty much good on the glide slope right here, so I am going to pull up the nose. Looks like we're pretty well lined up as well here, as far as the localizing is concerned, so that's the horizontal lining up. and everything else is looking okay right now. We're at our speed. Our landing memo is done, so that's good. We're lined up. We're on the glide slope. Reached the outer marker, as it tells us on our artificial horizon. And this is sort of, you know what you do when everything else just sort of decides to hit the dust and nothing works anymore. And it's frustrating because I want to understand what's going wrong here, and this has happened so many times now, and it's just I'm missing something that I don't understand yet, and that's not really cool. I want to get better, but right now I just have to say, you know, it's time to get this video done. It's time to make this landing and just do it manually. Whatever. Just see it as practice. We're kind of getting blown off.
Approaching runways.
Right. Obviously that's 07 right. So that's good. I'm getting to be a little bit too high here, so I'm dropping the nose down further. And just use the lights to guide us in on the glide slope, and just use our eyes to be lined up with the runway.
500.
Good old manual flying. It is fun though. It's much more fun than just using the autopilot to do everything, or
400.
auto land or something like that. I just should be able to do everything
300.
properly, and obviously, as you can see, I'm not, so that sucks. But what are you going to do?
200.
Coming in high, so it might be a little of a long landing, but the runway is pretty long, so we should not run into any big issues here.
100. 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. 5.
Reversers. Reversers are in. Okay. And reversers are out. Manual braking. And it looks like that was a pretty decent manual landing, so I'm gonna call it quits at that point. Yeah, I'm still, as I've said, I'm disappointed that the ILS didn't work, and that was really bad, and I don't know what's wrong, and I'm sort of frustrated at that, and I think I've made that pretty clear by now. I still want to thank you for watching. We are just going to taxi sort of straight ahead to that Lufthansa hangar over there in the background to the right. And yeah, thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any tips. I guess we're just going to cross that runway over there. If you have any tips on flying the A320.
07 left.
Yeah, you know, apart from that, I will do more variety videos, whatever comes to mind. Maybe do some more Hammer tutorials, maybe do some more CSGO stuff, maybe do some more FSX stuff as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching once again, and until next time, bye bye.